Hi, I'm Jordan the Nerd of Gold, and I have finally read the Deadpool Batman issue. So I'm going to react to that. Yesterday, I reacted to the Batman Deadpool, the one published by DC, but I had missed buying the one from Marvel that came out earlier this year, I think by a week, and I was just like, you know what, I'll wait until I have both of them to read. So I read both of them yesterday, and I want to go ahead and review the story for this one. So the Marquee story, the Deadpool Batman story by Zeb Wells and Greg Capullo in here, I thought was a solid little story. That being said, I think the last issue with the Grant Morrison one I thought was a little too meta. This one I thought was played a little too straight, in the sense that it is not a bad story by any means. It does what it needs to for a crossover story, because you can't make anything that's going to have anything of too lasting consequence, but you do have to highlight both characters, and I think it was just played a little too straight. It was basically a Batman story where Deadpool was just kind of there and didn't really add anything different from any kind of Batman story. So it just kind of highlights to me that for both of those stories, Batman and Deadpool was not a very good pairing, in my opinion. I understand that DC and Marvel did it based on popularity. Deadpool is incredibly popular. Batman is incredibly popular. Putting them together should be printing money, basically. But that being said, I like the Morrison story more than I like the Wells story. But that being said, I don't think the Wells story is bad by any means. I just think it's played a little too straight, and it's not as exciting in that sense. Whereas Morrison's story was experimental, and you can maybe see where it would be a little too much for some audience members, but I still like that experimentalness that they tried there. Next up in that issue is the Chip Zdarsky and Terry and Rachel Dotson story about Wonder Woman and Captain America. I thought this was a solid little story. I really enjoyed that. They just pretended that the Marvel and DC universes were one universe and part of the multiverse of both of them. And yeah, I thought it was a solid little story. It didn't do anything dramatic, but it kind of showed a history and kind of their relationship to each other. So I enjoyed that. It was well illustrated and a good little story. Next is the Kevin Smith and Adam Kubert Green Arrow Daredevil story. And this one, despite how being short it is, it's basically just two of these characters running into each other as they both fight ninjas on rooftops in New York City, which is a perfectly fine thing to find both of those characters doing. But I liked it. I really liked Adam Kubert's art in this. It makes me kind of miss that he's not on an ongoing title, to my knowledge, or at least I'm not reading it, and I need to correct that because I like Adam Kubert's art. But yeah, it was a solid story. This is, I think, comparable to the Tom Taylor one with the Nightwing and Wolverine one, where it knows exactly what it needs to do for a crossover and works functionally fine just for that moment, and I was satisfied with it. And then next we had the Al Ewing story, and I forget who the artist is in this one, but it was the Guardians of the Galaxy Green Lantern crossover. Considering how short it was, it is a very fun story. That being said, I do wish it was longer. I maybe kind of want the pairing between Guardians and Green Lantern to have its own thing, like Batman and Deadpool, in terms of its scale, but otherwise, it was a very fun little story, highlighting the differences and similarities between Rocket Raccoon and Hal Jordan. Next up, we had the Frank Miller story about Wolverine and Batman appearing. This was not really a story so much as it was a chance for Frank Miller to draw both of those characters again. And your mileage may vary depending on how much you like Frank Miller's work, but I liked it enough in that sense. It's not really anything. It's basically a small fight where Batman manages to put a belt of grenades on Wolverine, and they just kind of stop the story there. There's no even real stakes outside of it, so it's whatever. I like Frank Miller's art, so it was enjoyable. And then next we had the oh wait, I completely forgot. It's the Jeff Landshark and Crypto story. I completely forgot that one, but that's a very fun story. There's nothing substantive going on there, but Giru's art is so fun. I love it. It was great. Maybe my favorite thing in there because it was so cute. And then finally we had the little Ryan North story where there's a continuation of the Amalgam universe, where we get to see Logo, who's a combination of Wolverine and Logan, or Wolverine and Lobo, and he kills Kiltron, who's a combination of Ultron, and I'm not entirely sure who the other person's supposed to be there, but either way, it's a short little snippet of a story that just reminds you the Amalgam comics are great, and I really want to see Marvel and DC do that again, so it'd be nice if they did. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we will see an Amalgam comic sometime in 2026 that continues what is in this issue, and it makes me surprised that DC did not do a little thing like that at the end of their issue, so I don't know why they didn't. I'm curious about that. But either way, fun issue. I think overall, looking at both of them, I preferred the DC issue over the Marvel published issue. But that being said, neither issue is bad. Both worth it. They have fantastic art in both of them, and just highlighting off what the companies have in there. So yeah, definitely worth picking up, and it's a fun title.